Hey kids, how you doing out there today? Another episode of Glen Yaps. Um, Today is a controversial topic: um, lip syncing and backing tracks, good or bad. Um, I can't believe the controversy and the fights about this, but the pros and cons and all that other shit. Um, if you don't know what lip syncing is, it's basically someone um, faking their vocals either over a pre-recorded vocal track or a full music track. Backing tracks can be any number of things related to even having your vocals on there, an instrument that is not on stage but you need it in the production, or right down to mimicking an entire band of musicians. Where the two cross is if you have all these music backing tracks and you have a band on stage faking, um, or basically miming the recorded track and their performance on there. Um, there's a whole mess of combinations with this. Most people that aren't musicians don't understand what's going on with this. They're oblivious to it, and they think that oh, this band is great, wonderful. They're performing all this. It sounds just like the album. It's the same speed. It's just perfect. Sadly, that's not the case. That is the way of the world right now. The illusion that these performers are actually doing it live in concert. Um, it's definitely suckered a lot of people. Am I for it or against it? Well, definitely not for it vocally. If you can't sing, get off stage. You shouldn't be up there. That's just the way it is with me. It's like vocals, that's your instrument, got to play it. If I got to go up there with my drums and actually play the drums, then you should be able to sing. There are circumstances where I understand why it's used. Um, we'll say the Super Bowl halftime show. In recent years, these productions and all this eye candy and gimmicks with all these performers, you have to get it all set up in a, you know, um, a few minutes time. You've got so much time to perform, and then you got to get that whole setup out of there for the game to continue. The main focus is the game, the football game. You're just that spot in the middle. So getting the show on, performing it, and getting up has to be done without glitches. So I understand why bands mime and lip sync during that, but they didn't always do that. I always bring back in history when marching bands, 100-piece marching bands, used to go out and do the whole field thing for the halftime show. That seems like dinosaur ages now, but quite honestly, I didn't mind it. Being a drummer, I thought they were fantastic, but they had to play all their instruments. There was no faking. But since everything's gone Hollywood and all the music and pop music has to be done, um, you know, without flaws, lip syncing has become the norm. So, anyways, what the backing tracks are? Well, basically, in most cases, the backing tracks are all the tracks recorded in the studio for their album, and they just edit them by muting certain tracks, mixing it down into a stereo mix, and use it live. It's got a click track to it. You usually have cues with the click track or program vocal cues on these what I call them cue tracks. And what that does is cue the singer and the performers on how the changes are going to come. Because a lot of these halftime shows are, they're like a greatest hits. They're all hits, so they don't play the full song, so they have to merge them all together. So anyways, people have this misconception that backing tracks don't include the vocals. They include everything these people want. If you want to have the lead vocals in there, you want to have every single instrument there, and you just want to lip sync to it, not utter a word. You want to sing along with the track. You know, that creates an issue again, because you have a vocal track going and you're singing along with it. If you screw up, they're still going to hear the vocal. People have been caught on that so many times. YouTube is full of videos like that. Just spend the time looking for them. It's brutal. Kiss, the band Kiss, apparently, even their manager admitted that they played the tracks. So a lot of older singers that can't hit those high notes anymore, what they do is they have the track. They have a vocal track of the original singer playing along, and it might only be for a section where he can't hit a high note, which is so stupid. So the drummer has to follow a click track through a whole stinking song. Maybe this guy is singing, maybe not. If he's singing along and there's no vocal track until it's the troubled spot, and then it kicks in. So what's normally happening is there's the music track is in the soundboard, and then his vocal track in, so he can talk to the audience and stuff. But when it comes to that high part, the drummer's following the click track and the recorded vocal track, and it's only used for a couple of sections, just so that high note sounds, wow, he can still hit those high notes. Meanwhile, he can't even hit them, not even close. So some bands have been caught on that. I've watched some videos that are just, it's almost like a clown act. So if you choose to use them vocally, you're going to be criticized. Most musicians hate saying that. There's some that don't care. The audience is oblivious. But musicians know. There's mechanics to how these things are done and how you play your instrument. You can tell when someone's faking an instrument. The easiest way to watch a musician fake is definitely in the drummer, because the drummer has 4 limbs going, operating different parts of this drum set. And if it's a complicated song, you can see if a crash cymbal is not hit exactly at the same time. You hear the recorder track. Sometimes these recorder tracks are done by other drummers. So when the live drummer's there, you know, if he doesn't have it memorized to a T, you're going to pick it out. Believe me, drummers are the easiest to see with the faking, just because of the dynamic of the instrument, utilizing 4 limbs and so many parts and pieces that you have to hit going around. Like if you look at this kid here, there's tons of stuff. If I miss one part, faking a drum part, you're going to know. So the bonus part of lip syncing, well, I don't really see any bonus to that, but for the backing track part of it, and I guess vocal, is during Super Bowl, it's multi-million dollars involved in ad campaigns and stuff with this. Everything is on clock, perfect timing. It has to be, the whole program, that whole game it's on a clock. You don't want screw ups. So I understand you want to put on the dance show. If you're that type of performer, you want everything to go without a hitch. So they'll basically use a vocal track along with music tracks, and you just act along with it. And that's just to keep the production from having a malfunction. Believe me, I've had malfunctions on stage with gear, with the sound system, with the microphones, with a cable. Believe me, by the time you figure out the problem, you're already into quite a few minutes. You can't do that on live TV, especially with Super Bowl. So I get it. the part that bugs me is that people think that these people are actually performing. NFL actually has a policy pertaining to this. A lot of people don't know that, but they basically want these acts to lip sync because they want this little portion of the show to go without any snags. So there is actually an NFL policy on the halftime show. So years ago we had bands playing live, and without the dance stuff, but obviously the dancing gives a lot more eye candy than just watching a band play the songs. Whatever the reason, the format changed, don't know. I find it boring, to be honest, but that's just my opinion. So anyways, for that part, I understand where they're coming from. Don't want any problems. Send them out there. They're used to playing to tracks anyways. They'll do that. Musicians are used to playing to tracks because in a recording studio, we all play to tracks. We play to our own tracks to make songs. So each track we lay down or record, someone else is listening to your track to put their part down. So in the recording process, that is the process. To play along with the tracks you create to gradually make enough tracks to make a full song. But you are the creator of that track and playing it in the studio. But to use it live, I've been in bands using keyboard tracks, nothing else. Keyboard tracks and sound effects. In our case, there's no keyboard players available to do this stuff. The flip side is, no bar is going to pay an extra man to do these keyboards on stage. Third, for the limited amount of keyboards, you don't need to have a fifth member. So I would program the keyboard part, or in other bands, some other person would program the keyboard parts, and I would have to follow it as a drummer. So the keyboards would turn on while I'm listening to a click track. They would turn on at points in the song. And it works. I mean, the keyboards are in there for accents and stuff. The sound effects could be anything from airplane sounds to thunder, or there's just all little tidbits. And I mean, nowadays you can hit a pad and trigger that kind of sound. Now you can just go, I'm drumming like this, hit a pad, it'll trigger that whole sound. But back in the day, technology was different. The first time I ever saw sequenced vocals, which I was so disappointed, but was a band called Alias. They were like a spin-off of the band Sheriff, Canadian band. And I came into the bar, they were playing a bar locally. I came in, I saw their sound check, and because I knew the owners and stuff, so I was watching their sound check, and the backing vocals, all the backing vocals were in a sampler triggered by the keyboard player. So the keyboard player would just hit one key like this, and the harmony vocals would come out. So it was triggering all the recorded tracks from their album, all put into what they call a sampler. And it was MIDI to the keyboard, so just one thing to hit the vocals on there. It was shocking. So then I went back and saw the band late at night, and definitely the band was faking the backing vocals. They were just going up to the mic. They wanted this big, layered vocal sound, and they achieved it because it was all recorded, and the keyboard player just triggered it. So that was disappointing. But that enlightened me to how bad this has gotten, and it has gotten bad. But dating back to the 50s and 60s and 70s, mainly in the 60s that I noticed it, was when I was a kid. I would see all these wonderful bands like The Who and the Beatles and Dave Clark 5, and see all these beautiful, wonderful rock bands on shows, and I fell in love with their music. And as a kid, I didn't understand that they were faking. To me, it was like, wow, they're phenomenal. I love them, right? It wasn't until I became a musician and I went back and saw these videos, because they used to have, what do they call it? Like all these, like American Bandstand, they would do reruns, and even to this day. So you'd watch the band. So one in particular totally devastated me when I saw it. Was the Who Smothers Brothers show, doing My Generation, their big hit. And I love the Who, and I still love the Who. But on this TV show, that's the way it was, they faked playing their instruments. Their drummer Keith Moon never played a song they wrote the same way twice. Never. He just winged it. He always was one of those guys, I'm just playing it new every single day. And he couldn't mimic his own playing. So if you ever want to watch Who videos back then, Keith Moon is the dead giveaway. They're miming their instruments. Now, being he's one of my favorite drummers, because live he is a monster player. Nobody sounds like him. But when I say live, I'm talking in concert in an arena, under their own power. They're doing everything themselves. But on TV shows, when they're doing a performance, most of those performances are done to tracks. The odd time, the vocal track is the only thing that might be live. Like when I say vocal track, their actual vocal performance. In a lot of cases, they would do the live vocal, but in either way, somebody is faking. And that drove me nuts. When I saw the Smothers Brothers sing, it was horrible. Because even when Keith Moon's playing the ride cymbal, he's not even touching the cymbals. It's, yeah, so disappointing. So then I just started noticing this all the time. It wasn't until you saw shows like Midnight Special or Don Kirshner's Rock Concert where bands were actually playing live. But then, as those shows faded, the new shows took over, we went back to the heavy faking again. Soul Train was the one that comes to mind. We used to watch, I love funk bands, so I used to watch Soul Train, and I was like pissed off. Every time a band was on there that was one of these killer funk bands, they were faking. It drove me nuts. And to this day, I can't stand bands that fake on stage. That's my opinion. To the average watcher and listener that's looking for a visual more than an honest performance, in my opinion, knock yourself out. But the fact remains, these people are faking. Okay. It's mind blowing that they think it's an actual performance like that. They've obviously never been on stage before, never sang through a microphone. Because with a microphone, I forgot one around here. Anyways, I don't have one handy here. But with a microphone, with it straight up in front of your face like this, and you're running around on all these platforms, going up and down stairs, running across, these ginormous stages, on the drum rides, are jumping off and all that, with the vocal mic like this. I'm telling you right now, every time you stomp on your feet, you get this kind of feeling. Because it's going through the mic, it's going through your whole body. You're breathing, you've got to breathe. It's like lip syncer, you don't hear the breathing, believe me. You hear breathing when you're singing. You have no choice. It's called the human function. You do have to breathe. So through all that stuff, and there's not a peep, right? You don't hear any of that stuff. So that's why they put the backing tracks in. They don't want to hear you, basically doing a whole dance number, bouncing around and stuff like this. And they don't want to hear you cacking, sneezing, breathing, whatever, People don't take that into consideration. Take a microphone, connect it to a speaker system, and run up and down the stairs like 5 times, and you will hear what that would sound like. You don't want to hear this going up the stairs, up and down. Oh. It's just, that's the way it is. Sorry. Then when you're outside, wind crossing into a mic, you actually hear wind. It changes the whole dynamic of a vocal mic. So, yeah, people do fake. And people get pissed off when you argue with them. You know, it's like people lip sync. No, not lip syncing. No, they are. Sorry, they do it. You know, it's so common that what you think is real is not. Now I'm going to show you a little bit of kind of what happens. So I'm going to give the spin on this camera here. So this is my recording studio. This is a song that I have. Now, each one of these lines is a track of something. This is my vocal on a song. This is me singing another vocal to that. That's called double tracking. Go back up here, all the way. These are parts of the drum set. We got cymbals, we've got hi-hats, we've got kick drums, another kick drum, snare drums, toms. Every microphone on this kit is a track. So then we've got, you can have anything, tambourines. We've got electric guitar. We've got bass guitar. More vocals. And we have keyboards. So what they do in the studio, this is why they call them tracks. These tracks are then mixed down into a left and right stereo mix. You can mute anything you want. Take out whatever you want, keep in whatever you want. Make the track. So if you're a singer and you want to have the vocal in there, you can mute the entire band, put your vocal in there, and that vocal track is the only thing that's going to come out. The rest of the band plays live, but they got to play to a click track, which is a meter. The drummer is listening to a meter. And that's the way it goes. They play along with it. You fake your mouth to the words as they come out through the PA. You're still faking it. But that's what a track is. If you want the whole band in there without your vocal, if you really want to do it, sing the track, but have all the music faked. Well, basically, watch 1950s, 60s, and 70s shows. You'll see the singer there by themselves. There's no band anywhere on the TV show. And they're singing sometimes, and you hear all the music. Well, the music's all tracked. They muted the vocal track, and you're either singing it or you're basically miming the vocal part. Different artists did different ways. Some TV shows regulated it. It had to be one way. It was like, I think the British program Old Grey Whistle, same thing. It was like some bands did it live, some didn't. I think it was your choice, but anyways, you have to understand that's what it is. So a lot of them do it. They have their regular studio voice that they did on the album. They have it in there, but they have it so that it's lower in the mix, so it's actually reinforcing your lead vocal. But in most cases, like on the halftime show, they're faking it. And then you get this complaint, well, I could see breath coming out. No kidding. You have to breathe. People breathe. So you breathe. So you see cold air breath, you still have to breathe. When you sing, you have to breathe. You're singing a long line, where are you going to, you got to breathe. So even if you're lip syncing, you still have to breathe. So they're trying to find all and nitpick all this shit. It's like, holy Christ. It's simple. Just get used to it. You know, your favorite singer might not be singing. So, but it goes through all the gambit. I don't know if if I've seen jazz bands take, they're usually meticulous about how they perform. Although I've not ventured to see that, but definitely on TV shows from the 50s, 60s, they definitely faked it. If you watch, I hate to say it, my favorite band, the Beatles, in the early days, same thing. Vocals might be in there, but they're faking their instruments. So, sad to say, but that's the way it was. Ed Sullivan's show, I can't remember if they actually played on that or not. But Monkees, the Monkees got crucified because they were a TV show about a band, and they actually became a band and musicians through that show. But they were all, basically, it was a TV show. So this twisted opinion of them started to come around when the producers of this show go, wow, we're making multi-millions of dollars on this show now. Let's get these guys to actually go play live, right? Meanwhile, two of them are actors that could sing, and the other two were legit musicians. Had all these big producers going, we're going to try this. I can imagine how terrified they were at the start. But they all played instruments. It's just two were professional musicians. Those are Mike Nesmith, Peter Tork. But Mickey Dolenz and Davey were minimal in the musician thing. But they all learned how to play. And they actually did go live. But they got caught, I think in the early stages, going to a recorded track. It happened just once. All it takes is once. And you're crucified after that. Milli Vanilli, another one. Another lip-syncing disaster. These guys didn't even sing on their albums. One of the two guys could barely speak English. And then you hear this voice and he sounds like an angel. It's like, huh? Musicians knew. We all knew. It's like these guys weren't legit. So they're doing all this wild dance stuff. Again, grab a microphone, plug it into a PA system, and try and jump around like that while you're singing. You'll understand when you're pounding down your body on the stage, pounding and trying to jump around, and then add breathing in there, you'll understand why they lip sync. Because you sound like a moron running around, trying to catch your breath. You sound like a moron. So they lip sync. They know the eye candy is how they're all dressed up, how this whole dancing is going. It's an illusion. You understand? It's an illusion. They want you to watch the dance. You hear the music, you become satisfied with that. But open your eyes. So anyways, Milli Vanilli got caught. They were using hard drives for all the tracks. The band was faking. It was horrible. The damn hard drive started to skip. I think it was on a song, Girl, I Know It's You, something like that. And it kept skipping, and it kept skipping. Well, how do you mime something that's skipping like that? You look like a total idiot. And they did. There's video of it. So they were the poster childs for lip syncing is bad. Backing tracks, bad. And it happened to some girl on Saturday Night Live. That's funny, Saturday Night Live. Her band played the tracks. So usually on Saturday Night Live, you play two tracks. So the first track, they played it, and everybody's like, okay. Second track started off, whoever started the backing tracks started the wrong track. They actually started the first song they played. So they were repeating the first song. She was all set to go into the second track. Her vocals are just ripping, and she's singing the wrong song. Her mouths are going to the wrong song. Career over. Never heard from her again. So it's happened. Now they just go, wow, the technology is getting better. Let's keep doing it and be real sneaky. Yeah. Well, I just saw another band online too, Santa Cruz, I think they're called, from Finland, heavy metal band, playing the Whiskey A Go Go, one of the most famous clubs for rock. Goes way back. Really? You get your chance at the Whiskey A Go Go and you're playing to fake tracks. And they got caught. because either I don't know how the drummer was playing to the click, and he's the guy that started. Whatever happened, the singer and the other front guys were all off beat. The vocals were flying out, the harmonies were flying out. They were looking like idiots, looking at each other, and then they look at the drummers like either they're killing the drummer with their eyes, or they're going, "Please help us," or "Shoot us now." So it's like I say, it's a joke, but it's more common now. It's in heavy rock now, which that was taboo. Heavy rock guys were the ones that said, "We gotta play it like the album. We gotta do it we gotta do our best. We gotta play it." That was that. In my day, that was the. That's why we loved rock, prog rock, and jazz, because it was like, we gotta hit that level. We gotta be able to attain that. Now they just click a switch. There, I'm doing it. Yeah, well, it's still fake. So in my opinion. Vocals, hate it. I hate it for every instrument. But you know what? It's one of those deals. Like you're gonna do what you want to do to pack that place and make your song sound good. If you can't find a certain musician and you want to do it, you know, got to deal with the consequences. I know the bands I played in when I was sequencing, we had issues where we'd be playing with the keyboard track and the singer would screw up. He would go into the wrong part. Well, with the machine beside me, I'd have to hit stop. Right? So you finish the song without the track. Anyways, but I like it for the only reason to color a song. It's not the main part of the song, it's a color. So if I shut the button off, the song is still going. All the instruments are still going except for that color, what it might be the sound effect of the keyboard. So if I could have got a keyboard player to do that, that would have been fantastic. It just wasn't available. But I had fun creating the tracks, just like I have fun creating vocals and writing my own songs. But live, I would prefer not to do that. But depends on the band you're in. But there are, to me, more cons than there are pros. And bottom line, it's all about money. You know, money and ease of pulling it off. Some are great at it. It's just one of those deals. Do you want it or not? But people, please, you got to understand. You know, musicians, we see this stuff all the time. If you're just Joe Blow sitting in your living room, and you're watching this thing on TV, understand that, you know, there is an illusion happening. It just is. Musicians see this. I see fake drumming all the time. You can pick it out like this. So, unless the drummer is exceptional and has their hour-and-a-half set nailed down to a T, where he's memorized every stroke, which I've yet to see, that he plays on that drum set, to a track. And, I mean, that's amazing if he could. But I can always pick out someone that's faking on the drums. It's the easiest one to focus on. The vocal one, it's right in front. You know the dynamic of a microphone if you've worked with them, like musicians have. You understand the breathing part. You understand when movement. Even on a drum set, when I'm moving around like this, if I'm doing a fast double bass song and I'm singing backups, I have to breathe. Double bass, right, left with my feet. That's like running down the street. Try running down the street with your arm like this and trying to talk consistently or sing consistently. Can't do it. So basically, you watch your artists, you enjoy them. Just keep it in your mind that, you know, not everything is what it appears. I guess that's the term. So I'm against it. A lot of people are against it. It's, to me, it's killing the live vibe, in my opinion. I know when I saw that band Alias, I was like, you know, I'm gonna go see them at night and see how this works. And at that moment on, I was like disappointed. And then it just started. I started seeing it. Aerosmith's another band. They use harmony vocal tracks, and Tyler's the voice on the harmony tracks. Because I mean, he's a great singer, anyways. So he sings live, but his harmony vocals, they're done to tracks. So, and a lot of the times with the tracks, there's a speed of the song. Like in this one of mine, is 1:15. It's a universal clock, okay? And you would set any other device you use these tracks on, it's going to be at 1:15. So a lot of the times you can tell if a band is kind of faking to their bed tracks is the speed of their live performance is almost dead on, and it doesn't waver. Like in the old days, bands rarely played to a click track live. The technology wasn't there. Now it's more common because they want the song exactly like the album. They don't want it speeding up. They don't want it slowing down. They want it just like the album. So you can always tell when something goes wrong when the drummer is following the click track and loses it because it's a train wreck. So, I mean, that's not just drummers though. Some bands don't have drummers, so but they're still playing to a click track. All the video in behind that's going on these big screens, that's all linked to this click track of 1:15, like in my song. It's all got to be in there. It's all tied together. The people in their living rooms don't understand how many cables and computers and stuff are all behind this, all linked together, that when one thing goes wrong, you're shit out of luck. You know, you're going down for the count, as Milli Vanilli found out. All the techs in the world could not stop that embarrassing moment when that hard drive started to skip. Girl, you know it. Girl, you know it. Girl, you know it. Girl, they're dancing through all this routine with people all over the band. They're all dancing. Girl, you know it. Skip, skip, skip. Girl, you know it. Skip. It was embarrassing. And I don't feel for them because it was a whole planned manipulation. And they even won Grammy Awards. They didn't even sing on the albums, and they won Grammy Awards for it. How pathetic is that? They even fooled the Grammy Awards. So they had to give them back. You give awards for the best new artists, and they're not even the ones singing on the album, let alone live. And people don't understand that people do this all the time. They do it all the time. So anyways, watch closely. Pay attention. So I could post lots of videos of my heroes from the 60s. Some of the ones that didn't fake back then, like the Young Rascals, a lot of their stuff is live. Like their drummer Dino Danelli, sadly passed away recently, but he was usually pretty right on with his playing. Keith Moon, the worst. I love his drumming live in like a concert, arena concert. He was just crazy. He's passed on too, but yeah, but on video, couldn't fake it. I think there's only one video where they're on the Rolling Stones show. I think it's called A Quick One, and it's like a 7-minute epic, and he actually plays drums on that. He even grabs his floor tom, throws it over his head, smashes in the background. Yeah, he actually on TV, on this recording, actually plays live. It's pretty cool. So why these shows, you know, had their musicians fake it? It's just all because of the same as the halftime Super Bowl thing. Got to keep that thing moving. Time is money. You got a certain block of time you got to fit in there without issue. Putting all the instruments on stage, miking them up, trying to get a sound and stuff, that takes so much time. I've been doing this for 40 something years, and a lot of other musicians too. Doing sound checks and all that takes time. They avoid all that by going, give us the bed tracks recording studio, take the vocal out or lower the vocal. We'll just have the lead singer chirp along, and everything else is going to be faked. So you do your best is to act like you're really playing. And some are so bad, it's ridiculous. In the old days, there's cords that plug from the amp and to the guitar, and microphone cords. They never had wireless back then. Okay, wireless is relatively new technology. In the 50s and 60s, never had wireless. So when you didn't see a cord connecting to the amp, you knew they were faking. If the microphone was in his hand and there's no cord, you knew they were faking back then. Sometimes the singer was singing there like this and there was no mic. And people say, well, the mic is above their head. I have mics over the top of my drum set. Right up here. They'll pick up your vocal, sure, but you'll sound like you were dropped in a cave, you know? It's just one of those deals. It's the logical thing. The mic's not in front, he's not singing. So anyways, it's been a fun thing. There's so many arguments online. Every Super Bowl we go through this. And I love listening to people's arguments on this, even though they're totally wrong. But, it is what it is. So it's fun to watch. It's fun to be part of conversations like that. So this time I decided to just kind of do a fun video. And whether you agree with me or not, that's totally fine. Totally fine. But unless you've experienced this side of it, and you don't really know what you're listening to. It's just one of those wonderful illusions created by record companies, TV, and now the sports thing. So anyways, thanks for watching.